Hey folks, how's it going? Chris here from MoDXtra Games and Collectibles. Welcome to the channel. Time for another collector thought of the day. This is where I go quick and dirty using my phone and my portable mic just to share a few collector thoughts from, my life and times as an adult collector who buys, action figures, trading cards, comic books, etc., etc. And in today's video, the theme of today's video, I want to talk about the Iran conflict. Don't panic though, this isn't some, left field niche redirect on the channel. Suddenly I'm going to be a political commentator or anything. No, not at all. I'm not going to be debating the politics of the situation whatsoever. But what I am going to do is talk a little bit about the economic impact of the conflict, because I've been reading some stuff and seeing some reports lately that have led to some collector thoughts. Now, action figure collecting and the kind of adult collectibles that you and I are interested in, they're expensive. It's an expensive hobby. It has been since I was a 20-year-old, and I was using things like action figures to be my decorating method of putting my own stamp on my first kind of rented apartment, and my student digs and all that kind of stuff when I was a young lad. And it's continued to be an expensive hobby. And as time's gone on, of course, as the action figure engineering complexity has increased, and size and scale and changes in the market have shifted. It's become increasingly more expensive. And then, of course, in recent years, we're looking at the economic impact of things like the shipping crisis during COVID, increased material costs over the last couple of years, the cost of living crisis, which, of course, is a perspective thing, because, at the same time as I'm getting emails from a gas and lecky company telling me that the prices are going up and my monthly subscriptions to things are increasing because they're more expensive, my hobbies, my recreational activities are equally becoming more expensive, because the same shipping problems and the same manufacturing problems that are affecting my kind of core service providers are also affecting my recreational hobby providers. And it's also, it's a volume game being an adult collector. You consume in bulk. We buy waves of action figures. We buy monthly pull lists of comic books. It's always been an expensive hobby. But at this moment, right now, price sensitivity in the action figure community, in the action figure adult collector community, has been a subject that's just keeps coming back around again and again and again. In fact, I made a video on the subject just 6 or 7 months ago. So in this climate now where we're all facing increasing bills, in this climate now where there's already been, an uplifting cost for buying our beloved action figures and statues and whatnot, we now have the Iran conflict that's come along. And of course, the Iran conflict is going to result in a number of things that I think will have a trickle-down effect. Some of it will feel very quickly, but some of it we might not notice or realise until later in the year or even into next year. First and foremost, the price of plastic is going to go up. You're probably aware, but oil is used to make plastic, and 20 to 30% of the world's, whatever it was they were talking about on the news yesterday, 20 to 30% of the world's oil supply goes through the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is owned and operated by Iran. It's been closed. Oil freight is being suspended currently. It's not going anywhere. There's loads of ships just with buckets of oil in them going nowhere. And that oil is not just needed to make the petroleum that fuels your car. It's not just needed for the diesel that fuels your car. It's not just needed for the oil tanks that heat your houses. It's also the process of making plastic needs oil. So plastic prices are going up, and just as with other resource cost increases, the material cost of plastic increases means that manufacturing pressure and manufacturing costs are going to increase, which ultimately results in retail pressure and retail costs increasing, which inevitably will mean a price increase for the consumers. They increase their operating revenue along, because they're not going to cut their profits, basically, and so the plastic prices are going to go up. I filled my car up just 2 days ago, and right away, right now, I could see the difference in the fuel prices at the forecourt, filling up my car. And again, on the same news report I was watching, they were saying that, the cost of a barrel is in excess of $100 now, and it was rattling around at, I think, around 70. I think I didn't make any notes, but that's what my memory says they were talking about. So the plastic to make the toys, to make our toy soldiers and our toy superheroes and whatnot, it is going to become increasingly scarce for a period of time, even if the kind of political stuff around the conflict gets settled in a shorter window of time. This gap right now is going to have a roll-on effect into the ability to manufacture plastic product. So it's not just that the prices will increase in the sense of it's just going to, that manufacturing pressure and the material costs of the plastic are going to increase, but there's going to be scarcity. There's going to be scarcity, which will have a trickle down effect into the smaller, more independent, more boutique manufacturers. Hasbro and Mattel might be able to weather the storm or be able to swallow some of the upfront bill for the material costs, but the smaller boutique toy manufacturers that we like, Fresh Monkey Fiction, Valaverse, Jada Toys, etc., will possibly struggle to produce supply that meets demand, because plastic will be in shorter supply and it will be getting bought up by all the big boys and girls. But with already long production timelines, their production timelines are going to get longer, which is going to then affect, consumer engagement, customer interest, consumer frustration, etc. Not only that, though, of course, the Strait of Hormuz being restricted right now is just affecting general, retail shipping. It's just affecting shipping in general. It's not just oil that passes through, although your kind of Gulf state oil supply is shipped out of the Strait of Hormuz, and obviously Iran's a high volume oil producer as a Gulf state, but just general shipping from the east coming through to the west uses the strait. And so it's not just the front end material costs, manufacturing costs, the production of plastic that becomes a problem. The stuff that's out on the ocean right now is possibly still sat in dock, not moving anywhere. So shipping delays, and a shipping crisis that will be not dissimilar to the shipping crisis we saw during COVID, because the price of containers is going to increase. The price of moving your stuff around the world from, your manufacturing centres over in East Asia, getting your stuff from over there into the West is going to cost more. And that is also, again, subsequently going to have a trickle-down effect into the end consumer retail price of the products that you're buying, which are already expensive, as I said, particularly adult collectibles, at a time where all your other stuff is going to be increasing in prices, your necessities, your groceries, your utilities. So the pinch is coming, and the pinch is coming in your real-life stuff, so your recreational hobby nerd stuff is going to suffer even more, so you've got these 2 or 3 things all just going to hit at the same time. You can't afford to buy what you want, but it doesn't matter anyway, because they couldn't make it, and if they could make it, they haven't managed to get it to you in a timely manner. And in the meantime, there was another much more higher priority bill to take care of, which sucks because, of course, the reality is you would say, well, yeah, you'd have to cut back on your recreational activity to make sure that the household finances are in a good space to, meet the necessity needs, the actual cost of living, and that's fine. The car has to be fueled up, the lights need turning on, we need the water running, all that good stuff. But the quality of life associated, it's just anyone in any hobby will be feeling the pinch of this. I'm just talking about it from the perspective of our hobby, but we're already, as I say, in a very price-sensitive community, a very price-sensitive hobby that's expensive in the first place, But I don't know, maybe golfers are going to struggle to get golf balls or something. Not knowing much about any other recreational activities, certainly not sports. I can't speak to it, but I'm pretty confident. Yeah, but anyway, it's about your mindset, it's about your headspace, it's about your well-being, isn't it? The joy, the pleasure, the relaxation, the recreation that these things bring us. Sensibly, you may have to cut down. I'm going to have to consider cutting down. Let me rephrase that. I am going to have to cut down. You'll be seeing less reviews on this channel from around now onwards, but probably going to be seeing less reviews because less stuff's going to ship anyway, I'm not sure I'm articulating myself very well, but I think you guys are getting what I'm saying. That said, there could be a silver lining to all this. I like to, look at both sides of the story and give a balanced view whenever I can. And I'm reminded of, funnily enough, an oil crisis. So I'm sure some of you will know, as the story goes, back in the 70s, when there was an oil crisis in the 70s, which Iran wasn't really all that heavily involved in, but during that time, the cost of plastic and the scarcity of plastic reached a point where 12-inch GI Joes, I think it died, didn't it? They just stopped. They couldn't afford to produce them at the 12-inch scale. And in fact, that plastic scarcity was the reason why Kenner, with Star Wars, looked at 3.75 scale. It was a practical budgetary decision, an economic decision, to use less plastic in the toys. So while the oil crisis is, going to have a negative knock-on effect to, plastic production, cost of production, shipping delays, shipping costs, etc., that's going to affect the price we pay at the end of the day, there might be room for some innovation in here. We could well see the next kind of form transformation for the better, because our understanding of action figure collecting, adult toy collecting today has come from that moment in the 70s that was triggered by the oil crisis during the 70s. And I don't know what that could be. I mean, I wouldn't like to see us go back to, can't produce 6-inch, but we can do 4-inch now. Stuff. I mean, I've got some great 4-inch stuff in the collection, but I don't know if that would be popular. I don't know what the innovations could possibly be. And we certainly wouldn't want to see innovations, the like of which we saw in, when was it? In the early noughties, I think it was, when similar situations caused things like hollow plastic, more brittle plastic, cost cutting, the dawn of the accessory reduction accompanying our figures and all that kind of stuff. That's not the type of innovation I would like to see. But it could just well be that it's a time of creativity and innovation as a result of these pressures. Diamonds are made when placed under pressure, that bring us the next impact point, the next new thing, the like of which we saw back in the 70s, something creative, something new, something fresh, something different that's right for the companies and organizations that are involved in the design, manufacturing, distribution and sales of these products, and for us as the customers, as the consumers, and hopefully a positive one, rather than just because let's call it out for what it is. We know Hasbro are just going to find a way of doing it on the cheap, aren't they? At the end of the day, and then we'll all be complaining that the plastic in our figures just feels really hollow and plastic and shit. But who knows? I like to be an optimist and to think that some creativity, some product designer somewhere in one of these companies is looking at the shipping problem in the first instance, but looking at the production problems that may be coming down the pipeline, and going, I wonder if, and comes up with something really fresh and interesting. I mean, probably not. But I like to be an optimist. So yeah, I know you guys will be in the same boat as me. You'll be looking at the income and expenditure, the household income and expenditure, and thinking about how much finance budget you can put into the action figure collecting, the recreational activity around this kind of stuff. I suppose it cuts me a little deeper or affects me more because I'm thinking, well, I'm trying to build a channel here, and part of the hobby for me is the channel stuff as well, and it's going to be harder to sustain that, which is obviously an arse shit, because it's all it's all just this convergence of rubbish all at the same time. And I could be wrong, I don't know. I reached out to someone I know who works in one of the smaller boutique toy manufacturers and said, hey, any signs on the horizon? And they told me, they said, oh, shipping, we're definitely seeing that, like, right away out the gate. Right now we're seeing shipping stuff. Don't know about the plastic, not heard much on that front. So this could just be scaremongering for no reason at all, and if it is, that's fine, and I apologize. But I don't know. I can just feel it in the air. I can feel it in the air, I can just see it on the horizon. So what's the point of this video? I don't know. As always, it's a collector thought, and I ramble on around a broad theme, and I never kind of come to any conclusion, other than the fact, I suppose, from a very personal point of view, that I'm definitely at the point where I'm now having to drastically reduce. I'm going to have to drastically reduce. Just the reality of the situation. The facts are the facts. I mentioned the email I got from my gas and electricity company, and I nearly dropped dead on the spot. And then I went to fill up my car, and then literally died on the forecourt. And then I came home, checked my emails again. I had another email from the satellite, or cable, you would call it in North America, the cable provider. And I was like, well, can we do we need this much telly and this many streaming services? And we're all in the same boat, of course. I'm not. This is not a woe is me, tell a woe or anything. I suppose it's a show of empathy on my part that I get it, but I just think the action figure industry in particular is something that relies just so heavily on that kind of single resource of plastic, and the movement of product from the manufacturing base over to the West. I think we're going to see some stuff happening. I think we're going to, in 6 months' time, or maybe a touch longer, but I think it's coming. Before 2026 is out, and that'll be a nightmare right on top of Christmas, of course, for the youth, the child toy industry. So there we go. So anyway, as always, I invite you to drop your comments in the comments down below. Share your thoughts. Maybe you're a bit more clued in on this stuff than me and got some insights that you could share or open my eyes. Maybe I've misspoken about something that I don't understand. I'd definitely always love hearing from you guys. You can give me some learning, but also, where are you at with action figure collecting? Does the prospect of it getting yet more expensive, what does that mean? Is that going to knock you out of the game, or certainly reduce your involvement in the game like I'm feeling? All that good stuff. Let me know. Bit of a downer this one, isn't it? But there we are. So thanks for watching. Take it easy. Come back around again for another video sometime soon. Ironically, the next one's going to be a review after all that I've just said. But I'll catch you next time. All right, take it easy, folks.